That down. Let's move on to our headline story here, shall we? In a shocking move, the New York Jets, I'm sorry, I mispronounced Aaron Rodgers, have fired head coach Robert Saleh.
Look at that scowl.
Look at that. That's a manly man.
Someone said he looks like Xerxes from 300, and now I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it now. Leonidas. I can't unsee
Our
it.
arrows will blot out the sun.
Yeah.
Little 300 reference there for it. They have fired Robert Saleh, which New York Jets owner, I keep on wanting to call him Ricky Bobby.
Woody Johnson.
Woody Johnson.
Not Woody Allen. I said
Bobby.
Woody Allen earlier, and I'm like, no, that's not him.
Woody Johnson, the first time ever in all of his years of owning the New York Jets, the first time he's ever fired a coach mid-season, has fired Robert Saleh, who right now this team is 2-3. In their last game against Minnesota, they were literally marching down the field for potential tie or win against Minnesota until Aaron Rodgers threw that boneheaded pick and ended it. They could be 3-2 right now and tied atop of the division.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to fire Robert Saleh. And all across sports media today, because I watched it all across sports media today, it was shock. I was watching Rich Eisen, and he was like, I'm because he's a big Jets fan, right? He's like, shocked, didn't see it coming, totally shocked, all this kind of stuff. A lot of people very surprised by him. Again, the owner has never done this midseason before and all that kind of stuff. And so the question becomes, number one, two questions here. Why do this now?
Yeah. And
number two, the bigger question, was this the right move? Why do this now? Like, I mean, you're literally, listen, the Jets are playing the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. If they win that game, they are literally in first place in their division. I mean, 5 games in. If you were going to fire this coach, why not fire him in the offseason when you have a number of highly respected coaching candidates out there that you could have gone and replaced him if you wanted to in the offseason? Why 5 games in? Why when you're only 1 game out of first place? Why now? Well, you know what? CBS Sports found something out. And I honestly think this is it. They uncovered that Robert Saleh was looking at firing their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who is Aaron Rodgers' boy. That's Aaron Rodgers' boy. That's his guy. And Saleh was looking at firing him, and he was going to fire him, says the report, today. I'm going to go on record right now. I don't think there's any coincidence that Saleh was looking at maybe firing Aaron Rodgers' guy today.
Yeah.
And him getting fired today.
Some Game of Thrones stuff right there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely some Game of Thrones. Put the knife in his back before he puts it in yours. And now a lot of the sports media stuff is also, and I think there's something to this, that they just lost in London, where the New York Jets owner has spent 4 years being the ambassador to England. And Eric Mangini, former Jets coach, said in an interview on a podcast prior to that game happening, saying, don't underestimate how important this is to the Jets owner. He has a lot of billionaire buddies over there. He wants to look good there. He wants to win there. And if they lose that game, there could be consequences. That's what Eric Mangini said before the game. They go in there, and by the way, they lost to I think, the best team in the league right now. The number 1 seeded team in the league. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings, who are undefeated. And they lost because Aaron Rodgers, while trying to tie the game, threw a boneheaded interception.
He threw 3.
No, he threw 3 that game. But on the game tying, what could have been the game-winning drive, they could have won that game, and they could be 3-2 and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of people think that you embarrass the owner in England, where he's got a lot of friends, and so they fired him. That seems. I think, honestly, to me, there is no question. This was, I don't care. The owners come out. Woody Johnson's come out and said, no, I didn't consult with anybody. I made the decision to fire him. Bullshit. Really? You didn't talk to your GM? Really? Bullshit. You didn't talk to Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
who you basically mortgaged the future of this team to get a past his prime, non-playoff quarterback in his final year, Green Bay, that you let, and you're telling me you didn't talk. You hired his buddy as the offensive coordinator, and you didn't talk to Aaron Rodgers for making this move? Bullshit. Pure and simple. Bullshit. Of course he did. And really, it's just coincidence that on the day Robert Saleh was going to fire the offensive coordinator, and by the way, we're going to look at some numbers here in a second as to why he was going to fire the offensive coordinator in just a second. You're telling me it's just a coincidence that on the day he was going to fire Aaron Rodgers' guy, you step in and fire him? You're going to try to convince me that that's coincidence? Bullshit. That's coincidence. Now remember, Robert Saleh is primarily a defensive guy, right? And you hire an offensive coordinator to make your offense hum. I want us to look at some numbers. These numbers, I kind of knew these theoretically in my head, but when you actually look at these numbers, they are shocking. Check this out. Robert Saleh, defensive-minded coach, Aaron Rodgers' boy, offensive coordinator. Take a look at this. Look at the defense of the New York Jets for this year. In total defense, they rank number 2. In passing defense, they rank number 2. In rush defense, not as impressive, but still in the top half of the league, number 14. And their scoring defense, they give up the 5th fewest points of any team in the NFL. Eric Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. He's got his Hall of Famer quarterback and his boy as offensive coordinator to look after the offense. Okay, well, what's their offensive numbers? The New York Jets offense ranks number 27 overall. Their passing offense is in the bottom half of the league at number 19. Their rushing offense is dead last in the NFL at number 32, and their scoring offense is number 25. I want you to look at those two bottom numbers. You're not going to win many bloody games when you're number 25 in points scored, in points scored, when your defense is keeping them to only 5, and you're still 2-3. Look closely at these numbers, guys. And now the interim head coach is the defensive coordinator. Guys, the Jets defense under Robert Saleh was not the issue. The issue is you've got a Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, who is way past his prime at quarterback, who is now at best a mid to lower level quarterback in the NFL, who is now the boss and is calling the shots. And you got his guy, who is quite possibly the worst offensive coordinator in the game, and you're ranking number 27th in total offense. You going to tell me that Robert Saleh was the problem? Now, am I saying Robert Saleh is a great NFL head coach? I'm not saying that. But how can you have any common sense, look at these numbers and say, oh yeah, the problem's the head coach?
Yeah.
That's not the problem. So why am I saying this? If you're the New York Jets, if you're Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, what on earth do you think you're accomplishing by firing Robert Saleh? If it's not Aaron Rodgers came up to you privately and said, I demand you fire Robert Saleh. If that's not the case, as they say it isn't the case, then what is your rationale for firing your defensive-minded head coach when you rank number 2 in the league in total defense and not let him fire the offensive coordinator who has them ranked number 27 in offense? What are the Jets thinking they're going to accomplish by doing this? It's absolutely asinine. And listen, their defensive coordinator is great. I know the 49ers try to get him away from the New York Jets. He's highly respected. And you know what? They're going to win some games because they got a defense that's number 2 in the league. They're going to win some games. Again, I just would ask anybody who thinks this is a good move, what do you think you're going to accomplish when the problem clearly wasn't your defense? How are you going to improve this team when you still have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and his boy as your offensive coordinator, and you're number 32, you're dead last in the league in rushing, you're number 27 in total offense? How did you just fix any problem? I don't, Ryan, make sense of this for me because I don't see any sense to this whatsoever.
I can't make sense of this nonsense. No. Also, it's a huge distraction. Now everyone's going to be like, well, Aaron Rodgers pushed this guy out. Instead of just, like you said, they should have got rid of him in the beginning of the season. I do think he's been there. I think he's been there for 4 or 5 seasons. He's had to go through 6 different quarterbacks. So I think overall his tenure at the Jets, he had to put up with a lot of stuff too. But yeah, I don't know. I just think they're just grasping at straws. Like, if the problem is the offense, you got to make a change. They're not going to cut Rodgers. They're not going to get rid of him. And if they're not going to let him cut the offensive coordinator, then yeah, they're going to push him out. So I don't know. I'm baffled, honestly. 5 games into the season, like
5 games into the season,
and they're not
when
like
you're
0-5.
one game out of being
And they're not
number 1 in your division.
They're not 1-5. The rest of the division stinks. I mean, the Bills are good, but they're struggling too. So like, there's a chance. It's not completely out of the question for them to beat the Bills and go to the playoffs. So I don't know. I'm with you. It's a Rodgers thing. If he was going to fire Hackett, and all of a sudden he's gone instead, I mean, what else would it be?
Yeah,
it has to be that.
And I know I've said it 3 or 4 times already, but I got to put this out there again, guys. Think about this: you are the number 2 defense in the league. You have a defensive-minded head coach. Your offense, under Aaron Rodgers and his boy, are number 27 in the league. And you fire not the offensive coordinator. You don't bench your quarterback. No. Your solution to solving the problem is by not only firing the defensive-minded head coach, but then replacing him, at least on an interim basis, with your defensive coordinator. Defense isn't the problem.
Yeah, he's not going to be changing the play calls. It's still going to be on Hackett.
You're not
nothing's changing.
Addressing the problem.
Yeah, nothing's changing.
It's like you're driving down the highway towards Las Vegas and you blow a tire and you decide, you know what? I'm going to change a spark plug. Yeah. That's not the problem. No. You're not addressing the problem. So, and listen, I guarantee you this. Robert Saleh will be employed maybe by the end of this podcast. I mean, maybe he'll want to take some time off, but teams are going to I'm not saying he's going to get another head coaching job right away, but teams are going to be there's going to be a lot of teams lining up to hire him as their defensive coordinator. So he'll be employed again as soon as he wants to be employed. Maybe he'll want to take the rest of the year off. Maybe he'll want to take 6 weeks off. Maybe he'll want to start working again right away. But I guarantee you right now, his phone is ringing. His phone is ringing right now. So he'll end up somewhere, and I look forward to whatever team he ends up with, playing the Jets and beating the living shit out of them. Because, I mean, this team is a joke, man.
And make sure you learn how to hug Aaron Rodgers. Because that is what the bottom line is from this.
The hugs remember.
Yeah.
That is honestly one of the most awkward moments I've ever seen in the NFL. For those of you who know what we're talking about, there was that game a couple of weeks ago where like something good just happened and saw like a lot of NFL coaches went up to give a hug to Aaron Rodgers.
Like, no.
Rodgers double palmed him in his chest and like pushed him away. And
it was
like,
the equivalent of like you going for the handshake and someone does a fist bump and then you're like, oh, we doing the handshake, we doing the fist bump. Oh, I'm gonna grasp your fist.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, now I'm gonna go jump off a bridge.
I don't know what to do with my hands. It's too awkward. I don't know what to do. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Look, the Jets are going to win some football games. Their defense is just too good. And listen, Aaron Rodgers, although way past his prime, has still got some magic in him. They're going to win some games. But do you think the Jets are going to be a better team today, not firing the offensive coordinator and instead firing your defensive-minded coach when you're number 2 in defense in the league? I don't see the rationale here. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.